having the doula present, having done counseling, really like working through what happened the first time and deciding like I'm going to advocate for what I want this experience to look like, it made so much of a difference. I mean, it was night and day.
Well, being supported during your birth and being listened to and heard makes all the difference.
Yeah.
I'm Kayla Heater, follower of Jesus, wife and mother of 6 children, Christian childbirth educator and doula, and your host of the Surrendered Birth Stories podcast, where we share God-centered birth stories, evidence-based birth education, and our pursuit of surrendering our birth plans to God. Let's get started. Happy Easter, everybody. I hope you had a wonderful Easter with your families and your friends and your church and everybody. This is the second year in a row that I did not go to church on Easter. Last year, I was very sick in the bed, throwing up with HG while I was pregnant with my 6th baby. And then this year, I was very much looking forward to going to it because we're actually at a different church this year for Easter. And several of my kids have a cough. Some of them had fevers. And so we couldn't go, which was sad. My husband still went. He was leading worship, and he was good. And he took our oldest son, who was our only healthy child. But everyone else is coughing. So he stayed home, but we're going to do like a do-over next weekend because it's also raining today. I'm recording this on Easter, but we had beautiful weather all week long. And then we're supposed to have beautiful weather all week long this upcoming week. But on Easter Sunday, it rained the whole day, or it's still raining. I'm here recording this on Easter. So my family, my mom, my sister, and I, we said, well, we're doing a do-over next weekend. We're going to redo Easter. We'll get all dressed up and go to church. And not that we don't go to church every weekend, because we do, but in the Easter dresses, and we'll do the Easter egg hunt out at my mom's house and when it's pretty weather and all the things. So next weekend, that is the goal. But it was still a great weekend. I got to go to a birth this weekend, which was wonderful and always just my absolute favorite thing to do. And it was a first-time mom, and she absolutely rocked it. If she's listening to this, girl, you rocked it. She does not understand how incredibly peaceful, calm, and in control she was the whole time. I've seen many first-time moms go through natural labor. Anyone who walked in the room was like, wait, she's a first-time mom? Seriously? She was just like in the zone. It was amazing. So proud of her. And her husband, he was so great with her too. He did such a good job supporting her. Such a beautiful, wonderful birth. I did want to mention that I am ready for some more signups for the podcast, for some more stories. I always like to stay a couple months ahead, just in case any type of like family emergency ever arises and I have to like take time off recording. So I always like to stay a couple months ahead. So I'm ready to get some more birth stories on the schedule. So if y'all could sign up, whoever wants to share their birth story. And it doesn't even have to be anyone who's given birth recently. Maybe your babies are toddlers now, or maybe your babies are elementary school age or even older. I love hearing everyone's experiences, especially because in our like birth culture, I feel like things change a lot over the years. So I even love having a perspective of somebody who gave birth, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, things like that. So but also obviously new birth stories too. If you guys just had babies, I want to hear those too. So just click the link in the episode show notes. It says interested in sharing your birth story, click here. So go ahead and click that link. I would love to get some more signups to keep on this schedule of staying a couple months ahead with recordings. Also, if you need a birth class or you know somebody who does, we are taking signups now for our summer birth class. This is for fall babies. So if you have a baby due this fall, September, October, November, and even really early December, which I'm not sure you're pregnant yet if you're really early December. But for all those fall babies out there, we are taking registrations for our next birth class. So if you're interested in that, please go ahead and click the link in the episode show notes. It says to get in touch with me. Or to send me a message, go ahead and do that. The class is going to be end of July through the month of August. So please go ahead. And new decision that I made last weekend, I am changing the course a little bit to extend it a little bit to make it actually a 6-week course. Actually, when I first started teaching the class, it was 4 weeks. Then eventually it became 5 weeks, and now it's going to be 6 weeks. Especially the group class, because in our online class, if you're taking it, obviously no one's stopping me to ask questions. There's no like banter that we recorded. We're not like taking a break, during the recording and stuff like that. So the online one doesn't need as much time for. I mean, it's still over 12 hours long, but when you're in a group setting and you have a group of people, like 10, 15 people in the room, there's a lot more conversation that happens and a lot more back and forth and a lot more good questions and stuff. So it just makes the class a little bit longer. And I think that instead of having to rush through that and not allowing people to ask as many questions, I wanted to have some more time and some more margin in the classes. So we are going to stretch it out to be a 6-week course. So I'm excited about that. I'm going to edit my notes a little bit, do a few additions and move some stuff around, and same content, same great content. We're just allowing some more breathing room for that in-person class. So again, if you want to sign up for class, please do. It's going to be end of July through August here in the Triad. And if that doesn't work for you, or if you don't live around here, we always have our online course available on demand, and that is what it's there for. So that link is in the show notes as well if you want to sign up for the online class. Okay, we are going to jump into this week's episode. And remember, it is part 2 of a 2-part story. So if you did not listen to part 1 last week, please go back and do that. Kathleen's story, episode 136 last week. So click that first. But this is episode 2, part 2 of Kathleen's story. When Kathleen was pregnant for the second time, she was understandably anxious about the impending delivery. But this time, per her therapist's recommendation, she decided to hire a doula and went to a different hospital to deliver. And her journey was redeemed in every way. Postpartum became challenging, though, not because of her newborn, but because of her toddler, who was recently discovered to be on the spectrum. And figuring out how to juggle the two would be difficult for anybody. But God is giving Kathleen the perspective of joy amidst it all. In terms of your second pregnancy, then, how did you decide to do things differently? You said you had her in a different hospital?
So because I had switched jobs, I was now on Brian's insurance and I didn't have to go. I could go kind of wherever. So I had her at Cone in Greensboro. So I had switched OBs because it was just not a great experience, first of all. And second of all, the drive was, pretty far. I wasn't working, right across the street anymore. So it wasn't as convenient. So I actually asked a friend that worked mother baby, like, hey, what OBs do you really trust? Do you feel like are good? Because I knew like I would probably deliver in the hospital again. And so I went with a practice that a couple friends were going to and really liked the providers. And this friend in particular that worked at the hospital was like, I trust those providers a lot. Like, I think they know what they're doing. They're kind. They have good bedside manner. Like, I've seen them work through some difficult situations, and like I think they're awesome. So that's where I went. And I don't know that I would do it differently if I had to do it over again. There is a midwife group like I thought about going to, because everybody I talked to was like, you need to go to a midwife. Why are you going to OBs and having like trying to do natural labor? Like, it's kind of against what their whole thing is about. Like, you're making it harder for yourself to try to do this. But I don't know why, but I just went back to an OB.
So did that pregnancy overall go smoothly, like similar to your first, nauseous in the beginning and then just uncomfortable at the end?
So we got pregnant around when Lucy was 1, Again, it wasn't super planned. I was on like the mini pill since I was nursing, and it was making me angry. I realized, like, as the nursing was decreasing a little bit, the hormones from the birth control were like taking over, and I was just like mad. And I finally made the connection and was like, it's this stuff. That's what it is. So I went off of it. But we were ready. At looking back, we were like, oh, she's so old and like she's walking and she's doing all this stuff. And like she was such a baby. I mean, we already had a baby and here we are pregnant with another baby. But at the time, she seemed so big and so old.
Well, compared to a newborn, she is, but compared to a 3-year-old, she's a baby. Yeah.
Yes. So we were really excited. My younger sister at this point had actually had two losses kind of in a row. And so we were with our family on like a staycation at my parents' house. Since there were so many babies, we didn't go anywhere. We just went and met up there. But I didn't tell anyone. So I knew I was pregnant, but I had just found out and I just wanted to wait a little while. I just felt like it's not the right time. My brother-in-law had just gotten accepted into med school, so we were celebrating him. And, I knew my sister was still, going through a little bit of a grief process and all of that. So we didn't share as soon as we knew with our family. So I was kind of weird on that vacation. I was not feeling great. And I think a couple people were slightly suspicious, but so we texted everyone later on in the summer to let them know. And yeah, I actually took magnesium this time and it pretty much cured the nausea. It was amazing.
That's awesome. I wish that would work for me. I take magnesium too, but I have like that part of the reason I took it, was to try and help the nausea, but it's also just really good for pregnancy. But I have heard of that helping several people with their nausea. So that's great. What kind did you take? Do you know? Was it like an oral supplement or was it like a lotion or
It was just like an oral supplement.
well good. I'm so glad it helped.
Yeah, I had tried the B6 with Lucy and it didn't really make a difference that I could tell, but the magnesium was really, really helpful. So I had been working out and I actually since I had Lucy, I went back to the gym. I stopped working out with Naomi like maybe around the second trimester and I had no back pain with her. And I think that it was actually making my back hurt to like lift weights and do things at the gym with Lucy. I think it was too much. I think I should have been resting more. And so with Naomi, I was walking and doing things like that, but I didn't have back pain with her at all, which was so nice. Yeah, her pregnancy was pretty easy. I'm trying to think. Oh, the main thing with her was I kept getting viruses and sinus infections and like couldn't really take a lot over the counter, didn't want to take a lot over the counter. The providers were bouncing me around. So like I would have a sinus infection and the OB's kind of like, okay, well, I don't really like treat that. Go to your primary. I would call my primary. They would say, you're pregnant. You need to go to your OB. So that didn't feel great. I actually switched primary care providers during this time I went to a friend and was like, will you please take care of me? Like I'm pregnant, but like I have other needs and the OB doesn't want to deal with it. So I switched primaries and actually my sinus infection, I woke up with a fever, like my whole face was hurting so bad a couple times. Like I had to go on antibiotics a couple times because there was just nothing else that we could really do. I was doing everything. I mean, I had a humidifier, I had, sinus rinses, the neti pot. Like I was doing all sorts of things and it just wasn't enough to get it to go away. So that wasn't fun, but honestly, it was a pretty easy pregnancy. So she was actually due on leap day and Brian was not excited about that. I thought it was so cool. Like, she's due leap day. And I said, Brian, do you know what percentage of babies actually come on their due date? It's almost zero. Like, nobody's actually comes on their due date unless you have an induction. And. So we weren't really thinking that that would be the case. But she came on her due date.
She's a leap day baby.
Yeah.
Oh.
So towards the end, I was actually in the middle of another sinus infection. Thank you from, my 1 year old picking up all the germs. And I had pink eye from my 1 year old. So I was in rough shape. I was getting real tired of being pregnant. I had an appointment the day before my due date. I went in, they checked me. I think I was like, I want a cervical check. Usually I'm like, no, thanks, I'm good. But I was like, I need to know. I want to know. So I was 3 centimeters, and that felt good. And hadn't had any early labor signs at all yet. And she's like, I could do a membrane sweep. I mean, I could. And I don't know what came over me, but I was like, just do it. I just need this to end. I'm so done. So I was like, sure. She's like, okay, it might be a little uncomfortable. And I'm like, no, it's fine. And it really wasn't bad. And from my experience, it wasn't that bad.
I know what came over you. It was the fact that you were 40 weeks pregnant and sick and miserable and done and wanted it to be over. That's exactly what came over you.
I remember telling Brian, like, I let them do it. And he's like, you have pink eye and a sinus infection. Don't you want to like try to heal? And I'm like, I just need it to be over. I just need my body back. Like, I just need to not be sharing my body in this way anymore. I'm sure I'll be nursing, but like, I just need this to end. So that night, Brian had a swarm basketball game. So he works a couple of different jobs, and one of his jobs is PA announcer. So if you live in Greensboro and you go to a swarm game, you might hear Brian's voice announcing things. So he had that. My mom came to help me because it was really difficult, like to bathe Lucy and get in the floor and do all this stuff. And honestly, I don't know if this is just me, but I think my pregnancy was easier because I couldn't just sit there. It's like I have to keep going. And so sometimes I would be like, am I nauseous? I don't know. I would just keep going. And it's like I just had to do it, and it really helped to just kind of push through some of those tougher days where I'm uncomfortable. It's like, well, I don't really have a choice. So mom was there. I didn't say anything, but around 5 o'clock, Brian had just left. I was like, I think I'm having contractions. That was the first time I realized what was happening. This is the day after the membrane sweep that morning. And I didn't say anything for a while. And about 15 minutes later, I'm like, okay, they're like, there's been a few since 5. It's happening. So I kind of told my mom, I think I'm having contractions. And she was like, oh my gosh, like getting all excited. And she's like, what do we do? Like, do we call Brian? And he has to get there to do all the checks and all whatever. So it's not like the game had started yet. So I know Brian, and I'm like, if I pull him out mid game, it's going to be chaos. Like, he's going to freak out. They're going to have to like scramble. So I call him and I say, hey, I've been having contractions for a little while now. I think you should come home. He was like, oh, wow. Okay, let's just like kind of wait and see how it goes. It sounds like it's pretty early. Like, I'm still, at the game. Let's just kind of let me know. Give me a call. I'm like, Brian, you're not doing this game. You need to come home. And he's like, okay, all right, I'll be there. Let me work some things out here. I'll be there. So he came home and he was really excited. And all of a sudden, we had to do our taxes. I don't know what came over him. He was just like, oh, we didn't send our tax information to Mike. And I'm like, Brian, I'm in labor. This is not the time. So he literally did. He sat there and like was scanning some stuff in, which it was fine. I mean, it was early, so it was a good distraction and it was fine. But it was just hilarious to me. It's like, what do I do with all of this nervous energy? I'm going to do our taxes. That's what he jumps to.
Well, it's productive.
It was very productive. So we put Lucy to bed. My mom was able to stay with her, which was the plan anyways. I think I don't know if she brought her bag with her, but my dad came the next day and I don't remember exactly what happened, but we went to the hospital. So I was still like, they were not stopping. I took a shower, got all our stuff together, and arrived to the hospital. So the timing was interesting just because I tested positive for strep B. So they wanted to give me the antibiotics, which I was listening to your podcast, first of all, which really helped me prepare for this labor and delivery. But also, I had been listening to the evidence-based birth podcast and kind of knew like the why they recommend that and how it's if you're monitoring your baby, like you can tell if they're gonna, like if they're getting an infection. And as long as you get them treatment pretty quickly, like they're gonna be fine and all of this. But I was fine with it. I was not upset about getting the antibiotics. So
So, what time of night is this, and how far apart are your contractions?
it is about, we left our house around 8:30 or 9 at night.
Okay.
So I had been having contractions like 3 or 4 hours. And they were irregular at first. And I just honestly think my contractions are always irregular. Like people say, oh, they were 3 minutes apart. Mine are always like, oh, that one was 7 minutes. Oh, that one was 4 minutes. They're just kind of, I don't know. But they were pretty close. They were probably, we didn't leave for sure. They were 5 minutes at least apart. But because of the antibiotics, I wanted to get there because they wanted me to have the antibiotics, I think like 3 hours before delivery.
Yeah.
So we headed on, and I forgot to mention, but at this point, I think third trimester with Naomi, I did start counseling. I waited till the last second. I did start counseling, and I also hired a doula. That was a recommendation from my counselor. She was like, you have so much anxiety about this. You can't control like what provider is going to be there. You can't control what nurse you're going to get. If you hire a doula, you can control that that person is there to support you. Their
Right.
only focus is you. I think that's going to help you so much. So it was a friend. She was extremely affordable. She actually moved shortly after. She was moving actually around the time of Naomi's birth. She was still like packing up to move, but she was really great. So we did meet once or twice before Naomi was born, but since I hired them so late and like it was pretty quick, like it was pretty much like, I just need you to be there. And if I'm saying no over and over, I need you to be like, let's try something else, basically.
Yeah.
Or like, hey, it sounds like she's saying no a lot. Can we take a minute and figure something out?
Yeah. She was going to be there to advocate for you and to be the strong presence that if you were totally out of it, you couldn't be. So no one could take advantage of you.
Yes. And she was a believer, and I, felt more comfortable having her there. Also for Brian, so he could have some guidance of like, hey, maybe try this, Brian, or different things like that. So kind of helping him be that main support role. Like I knew she could kind of coach him to help me if needed. So we went to the hospital. I was really worried about getting sent home again. We get checked in, and I just had so much anxiety about getting sent home. I don't know what, it was just like I'm reliving. It was a different hospital, different everything, but I was still just so nervous. So the nurse is checking me in triage, and I'm crying. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry. Your cervix is still really far back there. I'm sorry if this hurts. I'm like, no, 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 you're fine. I'm just really anxious about it. And so she checks me, and she's like, okay, you're 6 centimeters. You're almost 7. And I start crying harder. And again, she thinks she's hurting me. She's like, I'm really sorry. I know that was uncomfortable. I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I'm so happy. I'm just glad I'm going to get to stay.
If this podcast has been with you through pregnancy, labor, or those quiet postpartum moments, and it's helped you feel more confident, grounded, or less alone, I want to share something new. You can now support the show with a small monthly donation or a one-time gift. Your support helps keep these conversations going and makes this resource available to parents who really need it. If this show has supported you in this season of life, I'd be so grateful if you'd consider supporting it back. Visit the show notes to find the link to donate. I truly thank you for being a part of the Surrendered Birth community.
They get us upstairs. They are trying to wheel me around this hospital. I walked myself in. I walked myself up to labor and delivery. I was having contractions on the elevator. I'm like, I am moving this whole time. I will not lay on my back. I will not be told what to do. Like I was so determined. So it was kind of funny, like walking into labor and delivery, the nurse is like, okay, she's doing it. And so they knew my birth plan. I had a typed birth plan. I was okay with like intermittent monitoring, like all of this stuff, trying to like make it as easy as possible for them to just leave us alone. And the OB I worked with did like, she likes to have that. And she actually signed it. We went over it together. She made her notes on it. Like, well, I don't agree with this. And I discussed this with the patient, certain things like that. And then signed it. And that was part of like my medical record. But I brought my own copy and handed it to the nurse. So the provider that was on call is very pretty much hands off. Like he left me completely alone. Like I got there, the nurse came in, she was great. She reviewed all of the plan with me and was like, this looks great. The provider, I saw him once before Naomi was born. That was it. He came in for about 2 minutes. And honestly, I was great with that. I was like, I just want to be left alone. So when we first got into the room, I was like, this wave of anxiety just hit me. And I was like, I can't believe I'm going to have to do this again. And we prayed, and Brian was like, you're going to do this. It's going to be different. It's okay. You can do it. Like we prayed, and I had so much peace after that. Just like, I'm here. I'm not getting sent home. I'm going to have my baby. It's going to be better. So I walked around the unit. I was trying to be active. My doula got there a little bit after, once we knew we were getting admitted. She came and was really, really helpful. So at one point I wasn't super, super uncomfortable yet, but I was just like, I don't know what to do. I'm tired. It's late. Like, I feel like I need to rest. So she was like, let's do that. Let's get the peanut ball, like lay on your side. Let's put this between your legs to kind of help everything open up and just relax. Like just lay down. If you feel like you can sleep, like that's great. And if not, just kind of relax. And that was so helpful. And I think it really helped me progress. My contractions honestly kind of slowed down when I was like that, but I already knew how far along I was, so I wasn't really that worried about it. And it really helped me kind of get like a second wind to keep going. So I was really thankful for her being there. I had a labor comb and I had bruises on my hands for a week. That was so helpful for me. They tried counter pressure, they tried hip squeezes, and I was just like, don't touch me. Like they would try during the contraction and made it so much worse. I didn't have back labor, so it was a totally different feeling because with Lucy, really all I ever felt it was in my back. So it was weird feeling it in the front this time.
Yeah.
So it started getting a little bit intense. I know I hit transition because I started saying, I can't do this anymore. I'm getting so tired. I don't want to do it. I can't do it. And they're like, you're doing it. You can do it. So I'm like, okay, it's close. Well, this whole time I had been visiting the restroom very frequently, as you can imagine.
Good for you.
Sometimes it was like, oh, I like really need to go to the bathroom. Please give me some privacy so I can wipe myself in peace, because they were so it was a little bit like, that's normal, I know, when you're in labor. But once you start getting closer and you hit transition and you're on the toilet, I think people start getting a little worried.
They hover.
So at one point they were still respecting my privacy. And at one point, Brian like helped me walk into the bathroom. I was like, I need to go to the bathroom. So he walked me in there and he turned around to leave. I said, do not leave. I need you to stand right here. I'm like grabbing his arm. I'm like putting my face into his torso. I'm just like, it's like getting really, really intense at this point. And this whole time I'm not really vocalizing. I'm like pretty quiet because during the other labor, I mean, I got to 10 centimeters pretty quietly in my home alone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just the pushing that I was saying no over and over.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they knew how far along I was. They weren't checking me or anything. So I didn't really know. I figured I was close because I was feeling so like starting to get emotional about things and everything and feeling like I can't do it. So he stayed right there and I feel something. And I'm like, I think I feel something feels different. So my doula runs to get the nurse to see what's going on. And the nurse comes in there and she was like, oh, that's your bag of water. It's hanging out of you. And I'm like, oh, does that happen? Like, is that? And she's like, yeah, it's fine. Totally fine. No worries. Just relax. And this whole time I just have to shout out this nurse. She was awesome. The monitors were not picking up anything. I'm moving all around. I'm doing all this. She would be like, I'm on my knees with my arms on the bed or on a ball, something like that. She is like behind me with the monitor, just trying to get a really quick reading. And then she would go away. And then she would come back and do that again, just like kind of checking in. But she wasn't anxious that it wasn't picking up all the time. And that was so helpful. So at this point, I think it's about like 2:30 or 3 in the morning. So I've been at it a while, but nothing like how long Lucy's was. So I'm sitting on the toilet. They page the doctor pretty quickly. She's like, "You're fine, just relax." At this point, I'm starting to shake. And my doula is like, "Are you nervous or are you okay? Like, how are you feeling?" Because I'm crying. And I'm like, "No, I don't know. I'm just like, I guess I'm nervous. I don't know." And not really making coherent sentences. And the shakes, I didn't really mention this with Lucy's, but I just shake a lot.
From the hormones.
Yes, around transition. And so I was really, really shaky at this point. And the doctor comes in, he's standing in the doorway to the bathroom, and he's like, "Okay, you're doing great. Like, you're good, but I need to check you and make sure, you're all the way complete so that you can push this baby out. So I need you to come to the bed." I said, I'm not going to the bed."
Good for
He said,
you.
"Well, I hear you, but I don't want to like have to catch your baby on the toilet. Like, I really need you to come to the bed. I think it's going to be easier for all of us."
No,
I
it's going to
did
be
go to the
easier for
bed.
him, not
Huh?
for all of us. I said it's going to be easier for him, not for you.
I know. But, I did say in the moment, like, I was on the toilet being completely irrational and just not with it all the way. And I was like, "I don't want to have a toilet baby." Like, I remember saying that. So, deep down, I was a little bit like, I would rather not deliver her on a toilet, even though I liked the toilet. Like, it helped
Yeah.
me a lot. So, anyways, I hobble over to the bed, I'm crying, and my doula is like, "It's not last time. It's not that. Don't think about that. It's not like that. You're fine. Like, you can be in." So he quickly checked me. I was on my back for that. And then I decided to try like one contraction on my side to kind of feel how it felt. Didn't like that. So then I got on my knees and was kind of hanging on to the top of the bed. It was in a seated position, and that felt the best. So he did go ahead and break my water, instead of having it gush all over the bed. He was like, "It's about to pop. Like, is it okay if I go ahead?" And I'm like, "I don't care. It's fine." So that was a strange sensation. I felt it more this time for some reason. So once I was in that position, my contractions, strangely enough, slowed down again. I don't know if that's just something that I do, but they did. It was exactly like last time. It was almost like 10 minutes apart.
When it was right after they broke your water both times.
Yeah, yeah,
Correlation. That's all I'm saying.
yeah. I don't know. I don't really know. Nobody was timing my contractions. Like, I don't know how far apart they were while I was laboring with Naomi. It's possible they were pretty spaced out then too. I just remember later the nurse was like, "I remember you saying that." And they did slow down quite a bit with this one too. So it was kind of interesting. But yeah, I mean, it really, the pushing was not fun. I had that comb, man. I had that comb. I was squeezing that comb. Brian was right there, encouraging me and my doula. And I was most nervous about the pushing, as you can imagine. But it was no more than, I mean, maybe 15, 20 minutes, something like that. It seemed really fast. It didn't
So did
seem
you
long.
start pushing as soon as he broke your water?
After he broke my water and I got in that position, I started saying out loud, like, "I think my body is pushing." So it was truly like I didn't do anything. I was just sitting there, and during a contraction, everything in me was bearing down. And that's what I felt on the toilet, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That's when I first felt it. And that's when the bag kind of popped out. Is I was sitting there, and all of a sudden it was like I didn't have control over my body, and it was just like my breath was taken away and my body was just forcing this baby out.
Yeah.
So totally different experience than Lucy. I mean, it's not like I wanted to push because I could feel the stretching and it hurt, but it was also like I don't even have control over it. Like, I'm
Right.
not even choosing to push. My body is getting this baby out.
So is this when you're on your knees hanging over the bed?
So yes, I'm in the bed on my knees, hanging over kind of the top of it. So honestly, I didn't really push. I pushed a tiny bit, I think, with a contraction, and that helped her kind of come out. But it was just such a different experience. We have pictures. My doula was taking some pictures during all of this, and Brian just looks so excited. It's so sweet. And it was just the whole atmosphere was so different this time. It was exciting. It wasn't this stressful situation. It was like we were just ready to meet her and we were ready. So she came on out and it was kind of awkward, like passing her back through my legs and all of that. And I probably won't be sharing those pictures because I'm basically naked, but they're special to us. And it's really like you can just see my face. I'm just so relieved and so happy in that moment. And I like to kind of compare that to Lucy's and realize, like, wow, this is completely an opposite experience. Even though it was still a hospital birth, it was still unmedicated, I still had OBs as my providers. Like, having the doula present, having done counseling, really like working through what happened the first time and deciding like I'm going to advocate for what I want this experience to look like, it made so much of a difference. I mean, it was night and day.
Well, being supported during your birth and being listened to and heard makes all the difference.
Yeah. So that was pretty much it. She was great. She latched like within minutes. She was like coming out hungry, trying to latch. I think not having any medications at all, like both of my babies were just so alert and so ready to latch both times. And it's really funny in the hospital setting, the nurses are always really surprised. I got comments with both of them like, wow, I'm so impressed at this baby. And I'm thinking, well, they didn't get sedated during all of this, basically. So she did great. She looked great. Yeah, we had a little bit of a harder time nursing. She had a tongue tie and a lip tie, but that we realized that in the hospital, but it was mild enough that after about a week we were okay. In the hospital, I did try pumping a little bit. I did try like a nipple shield, and it just didn't. It was just not going to work out. We just kind of had to get through it, and she figured it out, and it was fine. We did have lactation though after, which was helpful again.
Good. No yanking of your placenta this time?
Nope. He was fun. Like he was holding it up, showing me like, yeah, so this is this part. And like, it was kind of cool. Like I wanted to do that the other time. I'm like, wait, where did my placenta go? I don't even know. So it was kind of cool to get to like look at it. I did tear again. It was a second-degree tear again. But yeah, I mean, my recovery was pretty much the same as Lucy's, except I felt so much better about how it went. I wasn't in shock. Like, I was just so happy with how it went. I did bleed pretty heavily again, but again, not to a level of like, needing a transfusion or anything like that. Yeah, the hospital stay in a bigger hospital is not as peaceful. We were constantly interrupted. I would say that is a huge con on your list for hospital births is even if you have the birth you want, the 24 hours after that, just throw it all out the window because they don't leave you alone.
No, they
We
don't.
had student nurses. That's a training hospital for student nurses. And the supervisor we had some issues with, she was training them in the room, which I've been on the other end of that in acute care. Like I was a student in acute care. I had a supervisor. I had to go in the rooms and do things for my field. And that's like a cardinal rule. We're not going to talk about it in front of the patient, right? If there's something my supervisor needs to mention to me, we're going to go out in the hall and later on she'll be like, okay, so for this is how I would have phrased it or whatever. And she was in there like, it was just a little bit ridiculous. Brian was getting very frustrated with them, and we did kind of ask them to please leave our room. But it was just constant. It was not peaceful. We were just so ready to get home. But we both looked good. We were able to leave after about 24 hours. They didn't really want us to leave because they were making us feel like she lost too much weight, even though all of that turned out to be not true at all, but they were like very hyper vigilant about some things that I feel like was unnecessary. And so it kind of was a little bit anxious and nerve wracking to advocate for like, we're going home. She's fine. I don't even remember what percentage she lost, but when we got to the pediatrician the next day, they were like, she's completely fine. Like, this is average. I don't know why they freaked you out. I'm so sorry.
How much did she end up weighing?
She was exactly 8 pounds.
Okay. So roughly the same size.
Yeah. We did have a little bit of a bump in the road with her, like days, I don't know, 2 and 3 postpartum when my supply was really coming in. Again, oversupply. She was just getting so much and she wasn't ready for that. She was like projectile vomiting day 2, and it really scared us. I brought pictures in like to the pediatrician the next day and was like showing them, and they were a little bit concerned with some sort of potential like bowel obstruction or something like
Mm-hmm.
that just because of the amount she was losing. So at one point we were really monitoring like her diapers to make sure she was hydrated and that sort of thing. And it turned out to be nothing, but it was a little bit scary for a minute there. And she settled down, and I just had to learn she can't nurse longer than, 5 minutes or she's going to throw up. And eventually she figured it out and she wasn't getting, her stomach expanded and she was fine.
Yeah, they're really teeny tiny when they're born. So if your milk comes in quickly and abundantly, it can definitely cause them to spit it all back up.
Yeah, and it looks scary when it comes back up. It's like the colostrum, like the coloring, like it was just like, what is
It's
that?
usually like mucusy too from like amniotic fluid. So it's like a big old mixture of stuff.
Yeah. So she is great. She's 20 months now. We're still nursing. With Lucy, it was pretty funny. As soon as I was pregnant with Naomi, we joke Lucy knew first. She was 13 months. She just cold turkey. She just quit. She was biting me. She just did not want to nurse. And like the next week, I found out I was pregnant with Naomi.
Hmm.
So she knew.
Yeah.
She knew.
And the milk changes. So yeah, she probably did know.
Yeah. So with Naomi, I don't know, when there's no end in sight, she's still all about it. I'm like, oh boy, I'm ready to be done with this, but it's sweet, and I'm so thankful that I'm able to breastfeed, and it's been a really fun journey with her.
Well, good. Well, amidst, both of these experiences, what do you feel like the Lord taught you? What do you feel like he showed you or revealed to you through these, labors, deliveries, postpartums?
I have had a journey of just realizing my own limitations. I don't like asking for help, and I really think that it's such a sanctifying experience and such a like refinement process of becoming a parent. You're really realizing how selfish you are and how inconvenienced you are suddenly for these tiny humans that need you all the time. I feel like the overstimulation has been really hard. Lucy is 3 now. She is actually on the spectrum. I knew from about 1.5, but just because of my job. She is amazing. She is so sweet. She has really, really good skills as far as like, she does have some delays in communication, but like she talks, she's verbal. She has a lot of sensory differences and challenges processing sensory information. So she is in ABA therapy, she's in speech therapy, she's in occupational therapy. I really had to take a step back and realize I am her mom. I know a lot because of my job. These are the kinds of kids I work with frequently, but I can't be her therapist. I need to just be her mom. Um, So it has been such a journey in Naomi's postpartum because that's when it really was becoming very clear to me that she's neurodivergent. And I'm like, we need to support her because I know early intervention is key. So, really, that whole year of Naomi's life was just getting Lucy set up with therapists and getting her the support she needs and working through her meltdowns and trying to set things up for her to be really consistent here. I've been able to educate a lot of our family about things. I've had people say, like, she's great. Like, I don't get why you're labeling her, why you're pushing for this diagnosis. Like, why does she need all of this therapy? It's not about the label, it's about the support. And getting her that support is key. It doesn't have to be like this horrible, devastating label, right? Um, and that's something that I've worked through with a lot of families. A lot of times when kids are on the spectrum, they come to me first. They're having some sort of communication delay. The pediatrician says, let's start speech therapy. And then they get there and I'm like, oh, it's way bigger than speech. And so I have to very gently work with those parents and say, yes, they do need speech therapy. However, I have other concerns as well. I'm noticing this. Have you noticed that? Is this challenging for you? What are your thoughts? And kind of work them towards there's more going on. So honestly, Naomi, it's been a whirlwind. Like, it has been crazy. She's doing so well. Um, I'm really, really proud to be her mom. And I know it's a grief process, not because of the diagnosis, but because I know what challenges are ahead of her. I know that certain things are more difficult for her. And as her mom, that really is hard for me to see. Um, and so it has just been such a blessing to see how the Lord has really worked in this season of our lives. At times, the lows are so low, and it's really hard to see the purpose in things, but the highs are so high. And that is really the best way to say it. I've said that multiple times to people, like, man, since becoming a parent, that is so true. The highs are so high. Like, you're so just, you didn't know you could love another human this way. We would do anything for these kids. But man, when they're having a bad day and you're having a bad day and you're just all having a bad day together, that's not a fun time for anyone. So we've had our fair share of that. And just as Lucy grows up, so many things are getting easier for her. But man, as a toddler, we were so limited. I had a newborn. She was no safety awareness, running into the road, couldn't go to the park because I can't snatch her up when she starts running off, certain things like that, where now she doesn't really do that as much anymore. Like, if she's getting upset, she might still, like, she's still an elopement risk, like she still might take off. But typically, like, she's much easier to handle now. But when I had a newborn and I'm either wearing the newborn or holding the newborn or pushing her in a stroller, and then my toddler is so unpredictable and could just start throwing down at any moment, screaming, it's really challenging. It was very challenging for us to get out of the house. So just like finding those friends that, like, yeah, we're going to hang out, but like, you either have to come to my house or I have to go to your house because I can't really leave the house with them right now. That was really challenging because when you're home, I was home for a year with them not working, and you just want to go somewhere.
Get out of the house.
Yes. And it was so hard to be confined like that and limited that way. So I just really feel like, um, you know, I just have such a passion for other people out there too that are going through similar situations, because it is very difficult mentally um, to feel that way. So I think I'm still working through some of that with Lucy, and, the grieving of, like, this isn't the life I would have chosen for her, just because I know it's going to be a harder life. But then, you look around and life is just hard. Like, even food allergies, or these, like, I have two, a niece and a nephew that both have, like, pretty severe food allergies. Like, some of these things, like, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but you just don't know what other parents are going through. And so it's easy to compare, and it's hard to resist that temptation to say, I just wish I could blank, whatever that might be, when you see other people, not being so limited. But it's just, you know, I'm just learning so much in this season, and I don't want to learn it sometimes. I just wish things were easier. I wish there was an easy button, and there's just not. And God is good still through all of this. And um with the kids I work with, I even remember I was anxious at times being pregnant, thinking, God, I love these kids I work with, but I can't do this for my job and also be a special needs parent. And God just has a sense of humor. I mean, it's like I specifically prayed that with Lucy. I remember I was anxious about it. I prayed that with Naomi. I didn't. I wasn't that anxious about it for some reason. It's like I knew. It's like God was preparing me in that moment. And, I wasn't wrong. I can't do it. I need God in a way that I haven't before when she is just, and, other autism parents would definitely relate, but it's like, just silly example, like last night Brian was coming home from a meeting at church, and we had 4 bowling pins that she carries around that she loves upstairs. The other 2 were missing. Well, for another 3-year-old, it might be like, okay, yeah, we'll find them tomorrow, it's not a big deal, like go. But it was very important to her. That alone was enough for her to have a complete meltdown. And just in those moments when both of the kids are crying and I'm trying to get their PJs on, you just have to either laugh and say, God, like, I am about to lose my mind right now, or you can just join them and start screaming. And it's been such a challenge for me to just realize how quickly I can become frustrated with her and how gracious I have to be for her. So that might look like, running downstairs and searching for the bowling pins when I really don't want to, and finding them and then being excited for her when she, it's just the things we do for our kids. And with her, people don't realize. And then when they hang out with us, they're like, oh, wow, that was very important for her. It's like, yeah, it's everything for her. That helps her brain feel better to have her little things she was looking for, whatever. She doesn't handle that disappointment like a typically developing kid would. So just things like that, and really understanding her, it has been a joy, honestly, to learn how she works and to support her development however I can as her mom. And I love working with her therapists because they love it too, because they know I get it.
Yeah.
And so we're able to talk in a different way and really work together to get her what she needs. And she's doing awesome.
Well, good.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to hear all of that, because I didn't know that. I mean, I hadn't seen Lucy since she was a baby, so that's really sweet. Thank you so much, Kathleen, for coming on here. Thank you for sharing everything and your stories. And I'm so glad that your second, was a redemptive experience, and to know like where you guys are now and how you're doing. It's just wonderful. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for letting me come on here.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. You can reach me at Surrendered Birth Services on Instagram, or email me at contact@surrenderedbirthservices.com. Be sure not to miss an episode by hitting the follow button. Also, we'd love for you to leave a written review of the show so that more people's births and lives can be changed by the love of Jesus and the empowerment of accurate birth education. If you really enjoyed this episode in particular, please take a screenshot of it and post it to your Instagram story, tagging Surrendered Birth Services. If you would like to be a guest on the Surrendered Birth Stories podcast, please click the link in the episode show notes to fill out your interest form. Also, if you're interested in taking my childbirth classes, birth consultations, or having me as your birth doula, please click on the link in the show notes to take you to my website for online and in-person options. Just as a reminder, this show is not giving medical advice, so please continue to see your personal care provider as needs arise. We hope you have a great week, and remember, learn all that you can, make the best plans, and then leave it in God's hands.